Hey, friends, welcome back to the Do Cool Shit podcast. I have a special guest here, which we've tried multiple times, and we're finally making it happen, even after a wild and crazy journey that he had last night. So, Jeb, Jeb Johnston, welcome
Thank
to
you
the
for having
show.
me.
Excited that you're here. You were just in Amsterdam. We were supposed
Yes.
to record last week, but you took a spur of the moment trip to Amsterdam, which I love.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite places. My wife works for a Dutch company, so she goes over pretty regularly. I try to go with her when I can, and usually we'll dovetail it and throw on a trip somewhere else. But this one was kind of last minute, so we were just like, and I've never been in December. Like I've been in some of the like September, October, but I was pretty excited because they don't do like crazy Christmas stuff there, but it's very tastefully decorated. So they like really do like lights and like some string lights and I love Europe in Christmas time. Honestly, like I've been to Paris a couple times in during the holidays and now Amsterdam, and I just love it over there during the holidays, especially now that I live in Charleston, where it's I mean I put lights on my palm tree, so like that's cool. But although it was cold when we got home last night, it was like probably 20 degrees colder here than it was in Amsterdam, which is wild.
Really?
Yeah, we had like a crazy freeze or something here, which also I think wherever this storm was led to the fact that I got home, a full day later than I was supposed to. So, but
Fair.
travel's tough. It's not easy.
There's always uncontrollables that happen with
Yeah,
travel. Yeah, I saw some of your posts recently about like Dutch people, which
awesome,
I love Dutch people.
dude. They're so cool. Now the one thing is the running joke I always make is it's a little bit humbling for me because the height thing. I'm about 5'8". I have to like stand on my tippy toes to use the urinals. I go straight for the kids urinal in the men's room because it's the one that actually like matches my height. And we went to a concert last time we went, and like we had to stand on like a ride because like the women are 5'8", 5'10", sometimes 6 foot. The guys are all like between 6 foot and 6 foot like six. I mean, everyone's gigantic. And so it's like walking around, I'm always just like, I am a troll. And now, like I was, when I was like last time I was there, I was probably 30 pounds heavier. Like, I was lifting a lot more and not doing as much jujitsu. So at least I was bigger. Now I'm just like, okay, because I went to a jujitsu class there and like, thank God there was some like Italians and Greeks there because it was like some people
To
my
tone
size.
tone it
Oh
down a
yeah.
bit.
I mean, I still haven't posted the picture with the instructor, but he's like 6'6" and like standing next to me. I'm like, I'm almost a full foot shorter than this dude.
Oh my God. I've never been in a men's bathroom in the Netherlands, so I wouldn't know, but that is an interesting.
That's always the thing I make is the big comparison people to help because like one of my good friends Mike T Nelson goes there a lot for work and he'll do stuff there and he's 6'4", 6'5", so he probably doesn't even notice it. Some of my other friends that go there are also shorter, so they get the joke. But yeah, and one of my good friends here is 6'9", so like I see him all the time, so I'm kind of used to it. Someone who like I whenever we have pictures, like I'm up to his waist.
My
But it's just
God.
like the urinal comparison is the best one I have because it's like it's the thing that I'm always like, this is the big like indicator of how small I am. Well, that was a poor choice. How short I am.
A slip. Yeah, that no, that is so funny. I've never thought about that. Yeah. I'm 5'8" as well, so it's like on the relatively taller side for women. So I
Yeah,
think I was like, "Oh, like this is interesting to be not one of the taller people," but
yeah, you'd be like average height probably. I
yeah.
would say like most women are at least 5'8".
Yeah.
But like we have like friends that like they're 6 foot tall and then they wear heels and you're just like, good God, like you're
Yeah.
gigantic.
Yeah. And then
And
they throw on their attitude. Well, not their attitude. They're just like very blunt
they're awesome. Yeah, but they're
people.
also like super cool. Like it's
Mhm.
like I love it because they will engage you however you want to engage. Like
Mhm.
if you want to be left alone, they'll leave you alone. If you want to talk, they'll talk, and they're very like Sarah's boss, the owner of her company. We went to their house. They have a beautiful house like outside of Amsterdam, and went and spent time with them, and just like he's one of those people. It's always like you'll talk about how something's great or something's bad, and then he's always like looking at the other side, like, oh, if this is, oh, but here's the good. And they're very like, I don't know, they're just, and it's just a brilliant culture. Like you saw in one of my emails, I think that I put one of the there's the way that they approach problems is just so like they approach problems to solve for the long term, and they spend their tax money on it. I mean, the city is both very walkable and bikeable, uh, great public transportation, like, and everyone is fit. Like, but they don't like the gyms there. There's gyms, there's good gyms, and people work out a little bit, but they're not obsessed with fitness like we are.
Yeah.
But everyone plays a sport. So like Sarah's boss is her boss. She has the owner of her company, and his wife is like the head designer. So she kind of does all the jewelry design stuff, but also like kind of runs all the kind of she does like all the visual stuff. Brilliant woman, but she's tiny. She's like Sarah's height. She's like, 5'2". Sarah's 5'4", so maybe she's 5'4", maybe 5'3", but tiny little woman. She plays field hockey still. She's 48 and still plays field hockey. And I mean, she's like wears all like designer clothes, has like beautiful like jewelry, and then like she's like, yeah, and she's like takes it all off and goes and plays field hockey, like, a pretty rough sport.
Yeah.
He was a lot of people sail, or like one of our friends there is big into like kiteboarding and used to be a skateboarder. Like everyone is very active, but then the environment is set up to keep you in that way. So it's almost like, here it's all about like you have to push yourself, you have to, it's personal, and it's like you don't. We actually could fix this not by forcing people into this weird fitness world, like our the new brilliant people in charge of health in this country are like, hey, let's just cut off all health support and like instead just tell people to do more push-ups and then show what a shitty push-up and pull-up looks like. But rather they set up their environment to be like, hey, like let's remove let's remove the need for cars, but like make biking more accessible. I mean, like literally there's in the city of Amsterdam, there's 2 bikes per person in the city.
Yeah. Oh my god, the garages that they have for bikes is, like, one of the coolest things I've ever seen in
Well,
my
so it used to be at the central station. It was like outside, and there was a huge thing. People would just put their bikes there, take the train home if they lived in the suburbs, and then come back and they pick up their bike and take it to work. And I guess that was like becoming overcrowded and it was cold. So they built an entire underground at their central station, which is like, I mean, it's like Union Station in New York City. I mean, it's huge. And they put all the bikes underground. And that's since I was there, because I was there 2 years ago. And I looked, and we were taking the canal tour for the light festival they have. And like, where'd the bikes go? They're like, oh, well, they built a whole thing underground, and now it's all underground. So it's heated and it's cameras. And so it's super safe. I mean, but again, they had a problem, and they're like, well, let's not just put a Band-Aid on it. Let's actually create a need for it. But again, when you encourage people to do things that will be more healthy, you don't have to encourage health. You don't have to lecture people. You don't have to tell people that what they're doing is wrong. You just make the hard thing easy. And it's like, let's bring this back to coaching, because that's what your podcast is about. That's what we should be doing as professionals, like not browbeating people and telling them what they're doing is wrong, but rather like, hey, there's a better way. No, it's unfortunately, the everyone's favorite trope in fitness in the West is nobody's coming to save you. And it's like, well, yeah, that's because, we don't actually place any value on the community. We place all the value on your personal, importance. So
yeah.
yeah, there's not anyone's coming to help you at all, but you can set your environment up at least a little bit to help you in a better way. Now, obviously the best choice would be to go live somewhere where, you have access to things like that. I mean, and, we're having healthcare conversations as we're signing up for our new healthcare plan. And they're
Yeah.
like, so I don't understand. I'm like, well, look at here. I'm going to show you what the healthcare plans is. My estimated out of pocket that I'm going to pay towards healthcare this year is going to be for myself and my wife. It's going to be $28,000. That's what we're going to spend on healthcare for 2 people. And they were like, how? Like, and I was like, oh yeah, that's before things get covered. That's
Right.
what it's going to cost me, and then everything after that's free, which I'm never going to hit that, right? I mean, and that's now granted that's including our premiums. And I was trying to explain premiums and deductibles and out of pocket max and co-insurance, which is different than a co-payment, and they were just like,
Oh, yeah.
this doesn't make any sense at all. I was like, none whatsoever,
You are correct. It does not.
0 cents.
0 cents at all. Yeah. So, well, yeah, I mean, we totally skipped over even like introducing you and what you do. So you're
Sorry.
in, no, that's fine. W- we're gonna chat a lot. We're gonna yap a lot, I have a feeling. So you're a coach yourself and you also are a mentor.
Yes. I've been coaching in the I guess fitness, health and wellness, nutrition space now for about 13, 14 years now. I was a personal trainer. Formerly I went to school for music. I worked in bars and restaurants as a bartender. I managed nightclubs for a short bit. Then with my wife, we were dating, and she was like, "Hey, you should probably get a real job because I have to go to work every day, and you work like 3 nights a week, and then don't do much." And I was like, "Okay." So I became a hairdresser. Worked as a celebrity hairdresser in New York City for about a decade, and became very disillusioned with that. I talk a lot about goals, and so I kind of reached a lot of the goals in my career, like doing Fashion Week, having my work on the cover of magazines, etc. And was never it just never felt satisfying. And I got into fitness, and I was out at dinner one night with my buddy Sean Heisen, who is the editor at Men's Fitness, and a trainer named Ben Bruno, who's pretty well known. He trains like Justin Timberlake and Jessica
Jessica
Biel
Biel,
and
yeah.
lots of Chelsea Handler, very famous people. And he was like, he's like, why don't you just go get a certificate? He's like, I don't have a coaching certificate because he came up under Mike Boyle, and back then Mike
Mhm.
Boyle would say all certificates were bullshit. Then he made his own
Yeah.
certificate. But Ben was like, but you'll probably need one just for insurance to get a job. He's like, and I can get you a job. I never took him up on the offer. I ended up kind of wanting to go on it myself. But that day, I went home and signed up for a training certification, took that, and started training people. And opened my own studio in Brooklyn, and then ended up working with Stronger You, nutrition company. And I just felt like I was better at that, and I had more leverage. So I ended up closing down my studio and went to 100% online coaching. Kind of was misaligned in the macro world, but the owner of Strong You, Mike Dole, is one of my favorite people in the world. So I didn't want to quit because I felt like he would I knew he wouldn't have taken it personally, but I don't know. I just felt the loyalty there. But then he sold, and it was bought by $1 billion company, and that definitely did not align with my values. So I was like, I'm out. And he was like texting me on the call when they were announcing it, where there's a group call, and he's like, "You're quitting, aren't you?" I was like, yeah. He could tell by my face on the call. He's like, I'm done. I'm out. I'm not. I was like, I'm listening to this billion, which is the guy who bought it, very nice guy, but just the words that these guys use, I'm like, I would put a gun in my mouth the first week. So I was out then, and then went and started my own thing, and I was very fortunate because I had an email list that I'd been working on for about a year, and filled up my roster that week, and I've had some shifts since then. But mostly what I do now is not really nutrition coaching. It's not really fitness coaching. It's really hate to say it, but it's kind of life coaching.
Mhm.
I just got to help people manage their lives better. And that has turned into mentoring other coaches in my methodology, which has actually been such a huge passion now. It's really where my focus is going more towards, because I really love working with coaches and just seeing, I mean, we're seeing these like massive changes in people's confidence in coaching in a short 10 to 12 week program. And I'm just building these great relationships with just these amazing coaches. So that's really where I'm at now. And yeah, and it's still coaching, right? I'm coaching coaches in my methodology, which means I can speak on a little bit higher level maybe than with clients, which is fun for me because we can get kind of into the nitty gritty of why people behave the way they do. And
Yeah.
all my work is based on behavior, on nervous system alignment, on how we can affect change long term by changing the human rather than just changing the behaviors and the habits.
Yeah. I love the way that you speak about things that honestly, like years ago, my nutrition coach at the time had sent me one of your posts. And that was something, I don't know if you know this, that like really sparked me getting into behavior and like why people do what they do and changing that. So thank you. I
Very cool. I
appreciate
love to
you.
hear that. Honestly, that's my favorite thing to hear in the world is when someone's like, yeah, like I read something, I did something, and I started doing this. And I'm like, because you know how social media feels. And like, it just feels like you're just yelling out into this like chasm of nothing and that nothing.
Yeah.
And so, like, if one person says, it's like, all right, I'm willing to put in, doing a post every day if it means one person ever gets something from it. So
Yeah. Yeah, there's I think in the fitness, health, nutrition world, everything had been talked about in the same ways, just like recycled and very surface level. And like as a coach, in my own experience, people like continually just bump into this wall when it's only on this level. And in order to really become the people that people want to become, in order to like actually do the things, have it be part of their life and have it be empowering, we got to break that past the surface level.
yeah. And that's I was very lucky to have the opportunity to work at Stronger You, where I worked with more clients in a few years than most people will ever speak to in their lives. I mean, I just worked with
Mhm.
so many people, and I saw where things worked and where they didn't, and I found that the limitation of that asynchronous communication of macros as the entree as the like entree into someone's psyche. It's like there's a very 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 small limited population that works with,
Mhm.
and those people all got the benefit back then,
Mhm.
and it's gone. And those same people aren't able to recreate that because that 3 or 6 month change when they were at a certain point in their life where they could just do it, and most of them are like CrossFitters and they've been doing paleo and they switched to macro. So like that, but that's a very small segment of the population, and I think they've already run through it, right? And so that's where I got to see the limitations, and so that's where I got to say like, hey, what I do now is not the way to get rich. It's not the way to work with the most people. It's very time consuming. It consumes a lot of your energy, but it is the most fulfilling and satisfying thing I've ever done in my life. So, it's the trade off. But again, if you're in this to have a 7, 8 figure business, probably don't want to do it my way. You'll get a lot of actual life changing experiences, but those businesses that do the big money are going to require a lot of things that are going to provide short term outcomes. Probably not going to be long term.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you further, and I can't like I roll my eyes so freaking hard when I see I don't know if you see this on social media these days. There's these posts where it's like it used to be business coaches that are like, "Oh, make $10,000 a month." And now
Yeah.
it's like $700,000 a month. Like, it's something ridiculous. And I'm like, the things that people have to do to get to that amount of money is something that I want to be so far away from.
The funny thing is their profit margins are like 6%. Like, I mean, they're making good money, but most of these coaches, that's what nobody talks about because I'm in the room with a lot of these people. I know a lot of
Yeah.
these people, and they all talk a really big game. And they're making the same amount of money as a really good, individual. I was talking about my friend Derek Stanley, who probably very few people know on the internet because I mean, people know of him, but he's not like one of these big name guys. But guy kills it because he's just a great coach, and he has like a waiting list at all times, and he puts a lot of time and care into his clients. But his focus is his family, and he finishes his day so he can spend time with his kids, and does that and makes a great living. And he could easily he's got tons of charisma. He's so good looking, and he's just a great coach. He could easily turn this into some huge business, but um, why? He's like, I'm doing fine. And that's one of the great things I always think of as I talk to my clients a lot about this idea of floor and ceiling. Um, if you are always wanting more, you're never going to be happy. If you understand what enough is, you'll be happy every day of your life. And that floor of as long as I'm getting enough, everything else is gravy. And if you can develop that kind of mindset in anything, whether it's life, whether it's business, whatever it is, your happiness quotient will extend infinitely.
Yeah. I love the floor and ceiling. I use that a lot with the people I work with in because I work with a lot of like high achieving, high performing people who they want the ceiling every freaking day with what their standard is and what they're doing. And I'm like, that's not realistic. And it's going to lead you into burnout and feeling like shit every single day. Having a floor of what like bare minimums would be for yourself that would end like you end your day and you're like, yeah, I took care of myself today. And I'm like, basic level success.
Yeah, and I think so many people, their floor and ceiling is very close. So their floor is
Yeah.
so high, and they think that oh, this is the bare minimum of what I have to do, and they keep raising that. Then you're
Yeah.
like, no, 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 your floor is actually down here. right?
Yeah.
Like what you absolutely, and I've even had clients of mine, I'm like, put together your budget and see exactly what you need to survive. And then think
Mm,
about what, and then when it's like, okay, so like maybe we're making a work transition or whatever, it's like, all right, so what do you have to do in order to survive? How hard is that? And they're like, oh, I do that in like a day and a half. And it's like, okay, so are we at a place where we can start to make this transition, right? Maybe not right? Maybe we build up a little, reservoir of funds or whatever it is that you want to do to make this transition. But if you know you're doing that, then we're in a safe place to start to move forward, right? I mean, so you might not have many luxuries right now, but you'll be fine. Whereas if you're like, oh no, okay, I need to, time this out, and so it can be a financial thing, it can be a nutrition thing, but a lot of times people's ceiling might be rising of what they think they can do, but they rise their floor ups. And living in New York, I saw that like, I had plenty of clients in New York that were making $1 million plus a year, and they were paycheck to paycheck because
mhm.
they created a lifestyle to keep up with the people that are making 20 million a year. And you're like, okay, you can play and like live with the Joneses, but keep up with the Joneses, but you're going to be miserable trying to live in that world because you're going to have to struggle to survive, even though you could be living a great life.
Mm, yeah, I think that's so present, especially with social media these days where it's like you see people living in certain way, which is probably a massive illusion
Mm.
in general.
Oh
So
yeah,
that's
yeah,
so
and I've having been lucky, and like I was think myself as pretty lucky and pretty privileged in that I've just lived where I want to live. Like I want to live in New York. I found a way to make it happen. I got to do cool stuff, work with cool people. When COVID hit and we came down here to visit, decided to buy a house here and said, screw it, we're going to move to Charleston. Thought it was going to be like a 6 month trip, and I was going to just this was going to become my Airbnb, and I was going to move back to New York, and I love it
just
here. So
during COVID.
yeah, yeah. It turns out my wife is actually an extrovert. COVID was I thought COVID was great for me. I realize now that I used work as a coping mechanism. I worked
Okay.
like I was doing like 16-hour days. I just got crazy.
Yeah.
But I didn't have to go out or socialize or do anything, which for me was not terrible. She did not love that. So we came down here to just rent a house for a month and kind of get out of New York. 'Cause COVID was very different in New York than anywhere else. And that was the weird thing I had to explain to people. I was like, um, we were like, it was terrifying because there was like freezer trucks of bodies down the street, So you were like running into people in the like hallway of your apartment building was terrifying. And so like you didn't go anywhere, you didn't do much.
Yeah.
You didn't see people. So we came down here where at least we'd be outside and walk around. And it was before everything got crazy with real estate. So housing prices were pretty decent here. Interest rates were nothing. And so it was like the owner of our Airbnb was a realtor. And I was like, he was like, I don't want, I was like, I'm not buying a house. And he took us and looked at it, and started doing the math, and I was like, shit, like, how can I not buy the house? I love this house. I love this neighborhood. Like, let's just buy it. We'll figure it out. Turns out I love it down here. I love being 15 minutes from the beach. There's incredible food. Two of my friends from New York, I've been friends with for 25 years, both restaurateurs, opened restaurants down here. Loved it. They're like, dude, it's great. You'll be fine. I was like, okay, and they had been down here for probably 5 years before that, 3 or 5 years, and they were right. It's amazing. So yeah, it's been great. But it's a very different world. Very different than New York, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But having the privilege, but it's a very wealthy community as well. So I see a lot of people who are, most of them. I mean, honestly, like most of the world, what people don't realize too is most of the people that you're like, wow, that person's worked so hard. It's like they're almost all trust fund kids. Like like when they're all like they all come from tons of money, and it's like I guess, man. I mean, it's like you get, it's like starting on third base is like everyone that starts on third base is like I'm self-made. It's like, dude, you started on third base, and this dude just bunted you home. Like it's. I know you love to take credit for it, but you're not as
Yeah.
good at anything that you think you are. Um, but seeing that, and you see the people that try to keep up with that, and they want to be that, and so they spend, I mean, everyone down here has a G wagon. Um, I mean, it's like it's like G wagons, Broncos, and Range Rovers are like the average car down here, or pickup trucks that I didn't realize you could spend $120,000 on a pickup truck, but you sure
Even
can
the way
down here. It's crazy.
yeah.
I grew up, in different places all over the country, and lived in, rural communities where, some of my friends drove to school in a pickup truck that had like doors from a 78 and a hood from an 82, and, like maybe didn't have a bed on it. So that was, they actually worked in the trucks. These dudes, their rims cost more than any car I've ever owned.
Yeah. Heated seats, cooled
Well, I mean, like literally like $10,000 of wheels on a car. I mean, you're like, it's a truck. I'm like, this thing was meant to like do work, not drive around and look pretty. But hey, whatever you want.
Yeah, I have some friends that live in Charleston, and I was, like, very surprised. It is a weird world there because I'm like, I didn't think that I would like it so much here, but there's so much cool shit to do there too.
Yeah, it's pretty small, but like again, the beach alone. I mean, I
Yeah,
in the summer, I do a 9 o'clock call and then I'm done at 10. Pack our stuff up and we go to the beach every Friday. And
love
that's my
that.
rule on Fridays. Now, coming from New York, there's a rule in New York all summer. They have what they call summer Fridays, so everyone's done work in the afternoon, pretty much. So that's like kind of cultural there, because people just work their ass off and you work a lot. The mythology of rural and southern places being more hardworking is a total BS, by the way. Because rush hour down here is like 8 to 9, and then like 2 to 3:30. Like no one's working. There's not a lot. It's not. It is not a. It's kind of like being retired while you still work. It's kind of a weird world. And but it's great because it's kind of beach community, but it's also there's a lot of to the chagrin of many people here, there's a lot of New Yorkers that moved down here. So
That's what else I discovered was that, like, most people there, high percentage people are not from
no,
there. It's all
no,
transplants.
yeah, it's very much so. But great restaurants. I mean, the
Mhm.
restaurants here are great. I mean, really great. Like
Yeah.
and again, my friends who opened restaurants here are like, they came here specifically for that reason because you could get a little bit more creative here than you could in New York, just because the cost of opening a restaurant in New York is like you have to have investors. I mean, you're going to put a couple $1 million into a tiny little no name place. Down here, $1 million to $2 million to put into a restaurant means you're building one of the like nicest places in town. Now it's starting to change as more restaurant groups come in, but my
Yeah.
neighborhood is outside of downtown. It's called North Charleston. It's Park Circle, and it's kind of the hipster area. So
Mhm.
there's still people that can open these cool different restaurants with pretty low capital investment, and they're awesome. Like they're just great places, and so we have great local places up here that are really close, and it's just a great place. I love it. And the big thing too is I have a jiu-jitsu school of like where I mean I go at 6 in the morning, which is ridiculous for someone who doesn't have a real job. But I just have the greatest group of guys that I get to hang around with, and so it just hits on all levels. The relationship thing is as anyone who has seen any of my content, relationships are the most important thing in the world to me. And so that's the big thing here too.
Yeah. That you get yeah, there's, like, community, real
Yeah.
community. Mhm.
Which again, bring it all back to health. I mean, I know this sounds like I'm just talking about like life, but this is really the basis of my work is these things, and I try to live an experience that is in alignment with what I coach, and I really I think if people spent more time focused on the real stuff in life, like relationships, like environment, like you know mental, physical, and spiritual growth, the things that we chase to try to mimic that, like influence and power and money, that are completely unsatisfying. I mean, again, if money and power were the keys to happiness, the richest guy in the world wouldn't be a miserable dork, right? Like, I mean, that the richest, most powerful person in the world is a loser that I would never want to be like. That's telling. Like, this
Yeah,
guy is still chasing something that he's never going to find. And I know lots of people who barely have a pot to piss in who are beautiful, giving, amazing people, and
yeah.
everything in between. And I
Oh,
think that if
yeah.
we go after those things as the basis, we start to understand why things like health and fitness and nutrition are important, because they actually support those goals. They don't really like everyone, the narrative in like fitness, high achieving professionals, this is going to make you a better. Yeah, it could if we want to use like things like stoicism and Buddhism and spirituality as a bolster to become a better sociopath, you probably can. That's not what they were intended for. So maybe change the dial down the rhetoric a little bit in fitness, like, and say like, hey, like, this isn't about just making more money, it's about trying to be a better human, and then the money is less important. It's used as a tool to help you to be able to sustain these things.
That's such a good point because it's like these tools are being used and they're being used in different ways that may not necessarily have actually been aligned with what the intent was.
I mean, I've seen this like shift in people that like somehow have turned psychedelics into a like capitalist tool. Like it's
Yeah.
like the people have lost the plot. I'm like, I don't understand how you could use psychedelics and come out with this idea of like my goal is to like try to kill more people and make more money or something. Like you're like, dude, you are insane. I don't even know how you've managed to do that. Like, how badly is your brain miswired? But again, environment, like, the things that you're told, like, you might not be able to break those if you don't change things.
Let's go off of that a little bit because that's something that's so present, like in anything, but for sure in people's well-being is their environment, the stories they've been
Hmm.
told, stories they inherit. So how do you kind of like get into that with people in awareness and then shifting?
So I have what a kind of a three-pronged approach, and that is I call it nervous system intelligence, inner conflict, and strategic skills, and they're based on behavioral research. The nervous system stuff is really based on polyvagal theory. I do a lot of work in that realm. Internal conflict is based on this model called internal family systems, where the idea is that we think of self as this monolith, like I am Jeb. Self is an illusion, as many philosophers and psychologists over time have alluded to. Um, the our idea of self is something that's made up of again stories we've been told, stories we've inherited, etc. But in the idea of IFS is the actuality is that our idea of self is really a compendium of parts. And the way I describe it to people, so it doesn't sound too insane, because otherwise it sounds like, oh my God, I'm schizophrenic. Is if you've ever had that moment when you're like, part of me wants to go to dinner tonight, but part of me wants to stay home and watch Netflix. That's all. We can make it that simple. It doesn't have to be something crazy. You can think of it as a bunch of different neurons in your brain or whatever you want. But we have these competing parts that, in my experience and in the experience of those who teach these kind of methodologies, you can go back to Jungian psychology to kind of see it, even there. But the idea is there are probably things that formed like between like 8 and 13, and they're things that are protective. So, as humans, we're wired to have protection against physical or emotional pain. And these parts have kind of come into and when you think about these ideas like your self-critic or the perfectionist, or I don't know, anything where you've got this voice that's saying something, they're competing for control because they want to keep you safe. And so when we start to become aware of those voices and realize that that's not us, right? The thoughts, feelings, that's all they are, right? Are they valid? Yes, because they have a role to protect us. But again, when we meditate, the idea is people are like, oh, I still think. And it's like, yes, they're just thoughts. You just kind of let them float by like clouds passing in the sky, right? Anytime a thought comes in, and I always explain it, I'm like, if I thought that every thought that came through my head was truly me, the things that I think while driving in traffic would make me the worst human being to
Yeah.
ever exist.
Yeah.
Like, it's just a thought, like, let it go. And so when we can start to become aware of that, we can start to work with saying, like, hey, this part is just trying to protect me. But I'm an adult now with these skills and these tools to use that I can protect myself in other ways. Can I not bury that? Because what do we do when we have that, when and again, I'm very excited that behavior change has entered into the lexicon of fitness.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like with everything, it's like with research, the evidence-based professional loves to read a headline and then say that and doesn't know how to read a study.
Yeah.
So in my bugaboo that everyone knows is motivation. Everyone loves to talk about motivation. No one's actually even read the Wikipedia on self-determination theory, and so they just talk about it wrong. And so the fitness industry has created a lot of very confident people that don't actually know much about topics, and but they speak with authority very well.
Yeah.
So we get into this idea of like, oh, hey, you just need to like tell that part no. And it's like, you've tried burying that part since you were 12 years old. And it's like this, you push it down, it just comes out like this monster over your, and it's like, nah, you're not getting rid of me. I'm the reason you are where you are. Once you realize that protective part is your genius, I talk about it I call it the demon framework. So I'm like, you think of it as your demon, but it's also your genius. Now the reason I came to that, and I say demons, it always freaks people out. The word demon is actually from daemon. It's a Greek word meaning deity or genius.
Mm.
And in classical, Bible, when you look at the Old Testament, demons weren't bad things. They were actually obstacles put in the way of people by God in order to overcome, to learn from. Later in the New
Mm.
Testament, after Zoroastrianism came into being, they changed it into good and evil, because before that, there wasn't really a concept of good and evil in the world. So I tell people your demon is also your genius. That part of you that you are, that is making your life difficult, helped you to get to where you are. Start to see the genius in that, and then you can start to be aware of it. Then we shift kind of into that nervous system thing. And this is where it takes all the guilt and shame away about your behaviors. Because once you see that this is actually a physiological response, like whether it's, binge eating or overeating or looking to food for comfort, it's because you are in either a fight or flight, a fawn, or a freeze state. So you are trying to find safety in any way you can. And you would think that your brain is doing this. It's no, no, no. Your physiology is driving this. So you have to be in a state of calm awareness in order to make decisions that align with your goals. And once we're able to kind of come to that, then we can use these strategic skills, which is actually where most people start. Right. And so I get most of my strategic skills from dialectical behavior therapy. And that is a version of cognitive behavior therapy that was developed by Marsha Linehan in order to help women, in particular, borderline personality disorder, which is probably one of the most difficult personality disorders to deal with in psychology. I know a lot of psychologists who will not work with BPD clients because the difficulty in assessing boundaries is so high. So this was developed for that. So that's when we get into very strategic people who are overly emotional. Then we just like lay down these very strategic skills to work on. But that has to come after all this other stuff. But that's kind of where most of us start with. It's like, hey, we're going to build habits. But stacking habits onto someone who's overwhelmed already with their life is just like adding tinder to the fire. We're just throwing gasoline on a fire. And but through no fault of our own, because most of us don't recognize that. And it took a lot of work and study and research for me to understand that.
Mhm.
And that's the hardest part you can do as a coach, is not offer the, it's very strange to
Yeah.
say, but like not offering the help,
Yeah.
not giving them the solution, allowing them to take the time to fail and get to it. Because that's terrifying. So when I work with coaches, a lot of what I do is actually working on the coach themselves
Mhm.
to understand where they're coming from, so that they don't end up letting those parts of themselves that are afraid or critical or whatever come through and start trying to solve the problem. I think that was
Yeah.
pretty long-winded, but hopefully
I think
it
it
laid a framework for how I
came through
work.
really well. It did.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
I told you before we started, you have to keep me on task, because I will. That's the problem. I'm very ADHD too, so I'm all over the place very quickly.
I think that I am too. So, we're two peas in a pod. We'll
Yeah, and I,
we'll
I
get
did
it
not
done.
take my Adderall this morning. I try to limit it till I start at like 10, and then try to only
Yeah.
take a very small dose, because but yeah, so sometimes mornings are interesting.
No, I think no, you stayed on topic, and it's all I think if someone's listening to this, I nodded my head probably 100 times as you were saying that. So, I'm like, "Yep, yep." And these are all things that I personally, I will say, like, these are all things that I work on with people as well now. But like you said, had no freaking idea that that was stuff that was going on, and that was like the big blockers, the obstacles, and why people like wouldn't do the thing that they wanted to do. Why I personally, in retrospect, was living in the most stressed state ever, and you would have asked me before, and I'm like, "No, I'm not stressed." So,
Yeah, and like this is, and again, I'm not talking from a place of like up here looking down.
yeah.
The reason I do this is because I am an absolute disaster. Like I have worked. My mentor, she's like a mentor slash therapist. We work a lot on how it helps me to set boundaries and understand where my scope of practice is. But I've been working with her every 2 weeks. Just a clinical psychologist. I've been working with her every 2 weeks for the past 8 or 9 years,
Yeah.
to learn this stuff and to get to here, and not just about myself, but how to work with clients with it. And that's one of the things that in my mentorship I've seen the biggest thing is because everyone I work with, they understand this. They know this on some level. They just didn't have a vernacular or a system to kind of to speak it and to make it work. And then as that develops, that's all they needed was a way to take all these things that they intuitively know and they're great coaches and they're there, but they just couldn't put the words around it or put the system to it. And so when we start to be able to develop that, they see these really big changes happen in their own practice and their own lives. I mean, the transformations I've seen in coaches when we're doing our live calls where we do like our role playing, um, just like and that's everyone loves and hates the role playing. It's like in I actually interviews from this last cohort, every single person, the best part was the role playing. I hated it. It was so awkward, it was so nerve-wracking, but it changed the way I coached, being able to. And it's just about play. And I talked about clients. I talk about that with clients a lot, is thinking about when they're like, oh, I've got this thing coming up, and it's like all of this is just practice.
Hmm.
We're not it's not the fourth quarter, the fourth down. Like if you start looking at everything as play and practice, you're much better. And so for coaches, that allows them a safe place to practice stuff. And I'm like, you can't screw up. Like no matter what you say, this is another coach. It's just play pretend. They're not going to go off and have, a binge episode. They're not going to fire you. Nothing's going to happen. So you can say the wrong thing and then find out, like, well, was it really the wrong thing? Maybe it was actually the right thing. We don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And that's something I tell I totally from a coaching standpoint, you're like, I'm nervous that I'm gonna make someone do something. Like you have
Sure.
it's a chaotic place. But what I was going to say is that for people going through life trying to make changes, taking pressure off where it's like, hey, it's not that serious. Like you can gain experience through your experiences. Like you're going to binge again. You are going to do, you're going to skip the gym or whatever it is. And it's like, if you can take whatever meaning and maybe like detach it and explore, get a little curious, and then
You just said my favorite word, curiosity.
yeah, but
Personally, it's been very, very life changing for me to start to be more curious.
same.
I am by nature very judgmental. Just,
Same.
I hate to admit it, but like, and so I forced myself to be curious, to go in like, I spent a year where I was going to seminars and I used to go in being like, oh, God, this guy's a douche. Da, da, da. And now I'm like, I'm going to go in, I'm going to just engage and think this guy's great. And da, da, da. Now, what I learned was that my instincts are almost 100% right. The dudes I thought were douches, I spent some time and got to know them. And I was like, no, this guy absolutely is a total douche, like an awful person. But I let myself be curious and understand that my instincts are very good in that realm.
Uh-huh.
I can assess people very quickly. It's a skill and it's also a downfall. Um, and the weird thing is, as one of my other mentors pointed out to me, he's like, people like that know you can do that. That's why they don't like you. I was like, oh, that actually makes really good sense because I always
Yeah.
had this outsider feeling a lot of these things because like there's a lot of the people who have the big names, big just don't like me. And he's like, yeah, because you see right through them and they can't pull the strings with you. And I was like, ooh, because I don't
Ooh.
care. We talk about like, coach, there was a guy I met, very actually pretty cool guy. But we were talking about something. He kind of like did this false bravado thing of like, yeah, there's no reason. Oh, you're coaching coaches. Like, there's no reason I'll outspend you today. I was like, oh yeah, I don't care. I don't want to do what you do. I was like, I don't like what you do. It's not my thing. I'm actually trying to make good coaches. I don't want to make a ton of money. And the second I said that, and you realized I wasn't a potential client, it was like, huh, hey, and all of a sudden we're just talking on a level, and it was cool. But
Yeah.
these guys, there's so much insecurity in a lot of these big names and big follower count people that once that everything to them is a threat, and once they realize that you're not trying to take their business, and you don't even care about, I don't even care about these people. It's like, I mean, this sounds terrible. I don't care about them as humans. Like they don't have any influence on me whatsoever. And I've learned having worked with like, 'cause a lot of these guys think they're big shit, and I'm like, I've worked with superstar celebrities. I've worked with some of the biggest models in the world. I've worked with like very, high level people. And I've learned that those people can't really do anything for me. You sure as shit can't with your, 100,000 followers on Instagram. So I don't care. Like I'm like, hey, if we connect as people, that's what matters to me. I'm not asking
Yeah.
anything of you. I'm not asking you to help me out. I don't need anything from you. And once people recognize that you're not there to kind of take, it changes the dynamic. Because those people
Interesting.
live in very transactional worlds. I don't.
Yeah. Yeah, and I would say probably a lot of like masking too.
Oh
It's
yeah, that's a
like
great term.
yeah, I find in the field there's a lot of like trying to impress each other. And when we can get past that and just be freaking humans with each
Yeah, I
other.
mean, I did it. I would show up at these things and I would be like, I got to tell everyone all the articles I've written for Men's Fitness and how I like, I've got like, whatever. I've got research into this thing. And then now I go into these things and I'm like, what do you do? Tell me about your life.
Yeah.
Nobody gives a shit about me. I don't care. Like, if you want to, like, if you care about me, I mean, I'm on a bunch of podcasts. I'm a weirdo. Tell me about you. Tell me something interesting. Like, let me connect with you. And now I have a blast. I love going to these things. And I see my role now at like seminars and conferences. Like there's the running joke is like I don't have a big social media following. Like, people don't really know who I am. But when you go to conferences, like people are like, oh yeah, Jeb knows everybody. Like, and I'm like, yeah, because I just like go on. Like, I'm not like sitting there like following. Half the people. I'll realize that I have friends. Like, I saw Ed Latimer at the Silverback Summit, and he's like, Jeb, and I was like, yeah. He's like, and so we like, dude, we know each other. And I was like, I don't even follow you on social media because we knew each other from New York, and I was like, this is hilarious to me. I'm like, we're like sitting there, and again, it was kind of those things like, do you just know everyone? I was like, I just talk to people and like get to know them, and I forget about the whole social media thing. I mean, I joke about how bad I am about it. I go to these conferences, I'm with everybody. I don't take a single picture with anyone because I'm like, no, because
Yeah.
I'm sitting having dinner with them, and I want to I want to know about their life. I don't really care about the business and anything like that. Like, let's talk about the real shit.
Yeah.
I love the Larry David comment from one of the Curb Your Enthusiasms where he like looks at the guy next to him at a dinner party who doesn't know. He's like, how's your wife and your sex life? And the guy's like, well, what's wrong with you? And he's like, oh, sorry, I don't do small talk. I jump right to medium talk. And that's me. I don't do small talk. And it's very uncomfortable for a lot of people. But I don't care. It's just not interesting to me.
Yeah. No, I love it. Like I actually like want to sit down and have someone ask me something really, really deep. And it almost like
Yeah. Well, it's like when we met, it was like, and again, I'm very relationship oriented. So
yeah.
like we met a couple years ago or like probably 2.5 years ago now. And you were like, yeah, like Paul O'Neill's my coach. And I was like, oh, done. Like, I love Paul. Like, if you guys are cool, like you're on. And that's what I joke is it's like, if there's certain people out there, if you're cool with this person, you're all like, there's no introduction needed. There's nothing. It's just like, boom, done. We're good. Like we're going to be friends. I know. So, and then we sat probably for like an hour at that damn, club, whatever,
Okay.
karaoke night
Yeah.
last year, just like sitting bullshit. And I was like, that was having a blast. And I was talking with Mark Fisher, who I've known for over a decade and got to see him and spend time with him for the first time. Like, it was just like, that's why I go to these things is that
Yeah.
time together. Like, I just love it. And then again, I always want to push a ROMs thing. So, hey, if you haven't gotten tickets to Real Coaches Summit, do it. Cause, you introduced me to Laurel. Like, so like Laura was has been like, she was in the mentorship, this cohort, and just an
Yeah.
absolute fucking rock star. I mean,
She's
just
so awesome.
amazing person. Again, her through Paul as well. And then Paul, Paul joined the mastermind that I'm in, which was awesome because like that's like, and then him and Mike T. Nelson joined, and so like there's all these different, and I got into that mastermind because my buddy Dean was friends with this guy Cav who runs that, and it's just like, I don't know, like that's my life is so rich because of the people that are in it, not because of any kind of achievements or
Yeah.
the fake stuff.
I think that just says a lot where well, there's a question in here too that I'll get to, but where if you allow yourself to connect with people on a real level and not trying to just impress people, then your life becomes better.
100%.
And if we could all do a little bit more of that, I think the world would be a better place. But
It would.
so you referred to yourself as an introvert earlier.
Yes. Yes.
So how like that's an interesting dynamic where you're like, I want to connect really deeply with people. And you have a vast majority of people, like, you have a big network of people that you connect deeply with. So how
Mhm.
do you
Well, I think most introverts, there's an interesting misconception about introverts that they don't like people. They do. They like, but they like very deep connections with people. They don't really love surface. Extroverts are needed. Like, trust me. But like, extroverts make me super uncomfortable at times. Like, people who are comfortable, like I was joking with Sarah. We went on the boat, the canal tour, which we don't do tourist stuff, but that's one of my favorite things in Amsterdam, just because you can see the
Yeah, it's
city from
great.
this different level. But the people who are the tour guides are like, "Bah!" And I'm like, God, like this just makes me really uncomfortable because it's like, but you
Mm,
need that. You need that person. It's just not me.
yeah,
And the funny thing is, I grew up acting. I'm a musician. I can be on stage in front of 5,000 people and feel totally comfortable because I have a role, and I'm not. I'm doing something that is. It makes sense for me. Put me in a party with no one. Like, my wife is very good about, like, she's more extroverted. She knows just that, like, I was at my sister and brother-in-law's, and their weird neighbor that nobody really they're like, oh, he's too weird, he's a physicist. I was like, why didn't you guys tell me that? I would have had the guy. I would just talk. We were on this boat tour and someone made a joke about explaining quantum physics, and they're like, oh, well, they probably can't explain it to us, and this guy was like, oh, I can. And I was like, shit, I probably should have just gotten up and gone and talked to him and asked him. I would have rather heard about quantum physics than the boat, even though the boat tour was awesome. I was like,
yeah.
that sound like I would have cornered that guy at a party and been like, explain quantum physics in a way that I can understand or that I could explain to someone else. Like, that sounds amazing. That sounds like the best night ever to me. And so I connect people. Like, now, that said, as I go to these seminars, I can only go to so many of them a year because I
Yeah.
come back and I'm wiped out for a week. Like, I can barely do shit. Like, I can barely get out of bed. Like, I'm smoked. And so that's how I have to, like, kind of, but it's worth it to me. It's
Mhm,
worth it to me because it recharges me in another way. It gets me, like, going, and it gets me passionate about the work again.
mhm.
Because again, online we see so many people that I think are really bad at this job. They're really good marketers. They're really confident, but they're really bad at helping people, and they're probably hurting more people than they help. And so I get really disillusioned. And then I go to these things and I meet these great coaches. Again, I think Aram's one of the best things about that is that there's just really, really great coaches, really, really great people. And I get really excited to go to spend time with those people. And so, like, that's really important to me. Silverback, which I go to every year because Allie is just, she's wonderful. Even though I don't really work with dudes and I definitely don't do anything with testosterone, like, it's not at
Yeah.
all my thing. But like, through there, I met this guy, Eric Bach, who I've known online for probably a decade. He lives down the street with me, and we go get lunch every month now. We flew out together. We hung out the whole weekend. It's so funny. We flew to Orlando to go hang out for the weekend, even though we live like 15 minutes away from each other. But it's like people like that who I've known online, but I'm like, I only know their online presence, and then I meet in person. I'm like, oh my God. Yes, do we have a lot of differences? Like, that's the cool thing too, is like,
Yeah.
I'm not going out to find people who think like me or like me. Like, most of my friends here, politically opposite end of the spectrum. I'm big time, like, libtard, half a commie. Most of my friends are like MAGA Trumpers, and I think it's super important to, like, understand where people are coming from, especially if you work in this industry. You cannot siphon yourself off into this little silo and think that everyone who thinks differently than you is a bad person, because everyone thinks that they are their own personality. But the more you understand about psychology, about behavior, you understand that people are just a product of environment, and as you said earlier, the stories they've been told, the stories they are told. um it has, like, people think that they have cultivated their own life, but they probably have a very, very small influence on who they are, which is kind of terrifying, kind of sad, but also liberating if you start to look at it like that and be like, okay, can I look at my life through the lens of someone else? And if I can, how can I then maybe change some of that narrative to be a better person? And when I say better, it doesn't mean more productive or richer or more influential. It means better. Like, how can I align with values that are really important to me, not values that were handed down by someone else?
Oh, that's such a challenging, but like you said, worth it thing to do. How do you guide people or have conversations with people to help them actually identify what their values are?
I always think of a coach not as I think a lot of my clients do probably think of me a little bit as a teacher because, like there's little things like I have clients who are like, hey, can I, like, what books do you read? Like, what do you, like, why do you think the way you do? And I'm like, well, part of it is just being a little bit insane. Um, but, it's like, here's how I think. But I think mostly what I do is I try to be a mirror. I try to be a guide, and to challenge those things, not in a way that upsets them, but in a way that says like, they'll be, because sometimes I have clients who are so introspective. They think so much. And they'll be like, so I think when I did this, that maybe I was doing this. And it's like, or you were just having a good time. Like sometimes it's not that deep.
I do
And
that
then they're
sometimes.
like, oh yeah, oh, like, okay. Like
Doesn't have to mean that much. Yeah.
like one of my favorite things about like binge eating, right? When I work with people who have binge eating episodes, they're like, da da da. I'm like, did you eat? No, I didn't eat this
Yeah.
today. And it's like, well, maybe you were just really fucking hungry, and that's why like maybe it doesn't have to be this huge like introspective thing. Maybe it's like just eat breakfast. That might be the cure.
Literally the first question that I ask people when they have an episode, I'm like, "What'd you eat the rest of the day?"
Yeah, like let's start there. Let's not
Yeah.
go like let's take and that's one of the things I think too is like the risk of getting into this kind of work is that you're always then looking for this deeper thing. Like, well, let's start with the surface thing, the things that are easy to do. And that's one I think that it's kind of confusing on macros is people like put this as a first intervention thinking that it's this really easy thing, but it's actually super complex. Like the surface thing is like, hey, are you eating 3 times a day?
Yeah.
No. Okay. Well, let's not start with trying to figure out, like, just eat a balanced meal. Like, it doesn't have to be. Would I love for everyone to have, every guy to have 4 meals of about 40 grams of protein and women to have, like, 4 meals of 30 grams of protein? Sure. But you know what? If you could just eat 3 times a day to start, let's start with that and then start to figure out how to make that up. And then, like I said, I'm in Europe and Amsterdam, everyone's in great shape. They're starting to get a little bit of the protein weirdness just because of the proximity to London, I think. And London is like England is much more like the US than Europe. Again, I love in comment sections of things when people are like, oh, you idiot, England's in Europe. And you're like, no, it's not. It's not continental Europe. It's totally different.
Actually, no.
Yeah, they're way more like us, and so they have a lot of. But in 10 years ago, if you ask someone in anywhere in Europe and even most of Europe now, if you ask them like what protein is, they're like, I don't know, I just eat food. Like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, don't be weird. Like, it's just food. Um, they're all in great shape but they don't think about this. But they eat food. They eat a meal, and even when they have snacks, they're not like it's not like the way we snack because we just graze all day, and we always have to have a snack. Like in France, the kids always have goûter, which is like a little piece of maybe chocolate or cheese, and but they eat just they don't obsess over it. And again, most of my work I think is really about obsession. My mentor has a really great metaphor. It's like anything that's taking up too much of that your pie of life. If there's too big of a piece of that pie that's taken up by one thing, that's becomes a problem. That's an obsession. We just want to lessen the amount of the pie that takes up. We don't want to get rid of it. We don't want to make it so we never have pie, but it just needs to be let's make it a small slice and we don't think about it. And that's really what I work on. And that's one of the things that I think people are starting to learn about why GLP-1s are so effective. It's not just the gastric emptying. It's not the insulin change. It's literally about quieting that food noise, about taking away the chatter that's in someone's head, because people that don't struggle with that don't understand what people are going through. And when you remove that chatter, their whole life gets better. I mean, I have clients who have issues with shopping addiction, with alcohol, with et cetera, who've gone on GLP-1s, and those things have been eliminated.
Yeah.
Now, the side effect of that is that it might also blunt a lot of other passion things, right? That could be sex. That could be if you're a big runner, it might blunt the excitement of running. There can be a lot of side effects there, and I think that is actually we'll see a little bit of the downside. I don't think all the talk about muscle loss and everything. I was like, guys, I've been watching people lose muscle while losing weight for the past 15 years. Like that happens to everyone with major weight loss if they don't. And they're like, oh, we have to eat enough protein. Well, no, the research says you have to lift. Like
Right.
protein without lifting doesn't do jack shit. Doesn't matter. So you need to be lifting. And so, yeah. But is someone that's 100 pounds lighter, even if they lost muscle, going to be in better health overall than someone who is 100 pounds heavier with muscle? Yeah. Yeah,
But
because
yeah,
because I'll
they're
I'll tell you what, there's a whole lot of bodybuilders walking around at 300 pounds of muscle, and they're all dropping dead at like 42. So
right. Yeah, there's so much stuff in there. And then I have like some clients who are like they're on GLP-1. I have one particularly who came to me and she's on a GLP-1, still binges. Like it's not that
really,
go at yeah, there's a lot of stuff there with like I think we're digging into it's like a lot of rebellion from her past and I'm like, yeah, see like you can't rely on this is going to stop you from doing it. It's going to potentially help you in a lot of ways, but also there's more there to dig into.
that's interesting. Because
Okay.
yeah, that's something I have not encountered. With my clients yet is the now
Yeah.
there's some other behaviors I see more in the lines of restriction.
Yeah.
They'll start to restrict more, and it's like, okay, well, we can't do that either. Remember and again, a lot of it I think is intentionality of why they're doing it. I think whether one of the things with GLP-1s, we really probably need better screening for potential eating disorders. That said, I don't think that should take it off the table, but I think that there should be some requirement for some behavioral interventions as well. Because again, if you're seeing someone who's still binging while taking GLP-1s, there is something much deeper than the physiological and possibly even the regular emotional. So that's again, it's and what I said to some people is like you have to understand too is food has been your coping mechanism for your entire life. So you're going to take that away. Well, what are you going to do? How are you going to deal with emotions? How are you like? What are you going? It's going to solve one problem, it might create another. So we still want to work on these things. And again, that's why I think it's really important for coaches moving to this next area of quote unquote fitness is to understand that your relationships are going to keep your business alive. Because I guarantee you, if you just assign macros and workouts, AI is going to blow you out of the water. It's going to be so much better
Oh,
than you
yeah.
can ever be at that. Um,
Yeah.
you need to have, there needs to be a reason. Because I'll tell you one thing is, I know they really think that AI therapy is helpful, but it is not doing a good job. It is the things that it tells people it's not,
Oh.
it's terrifying.
Yeah, I know there's one part of me that's like, you know what? I'm really glad that people are talking about
Yes,
things.
yes, they're getting it out there.
Yeah. And then on the other hand, it's like, yeah, but you're talking to like this, who the fuck knows?
It's like mainly like if it wants to give you strategies, it can come up with some good ones there. But like mainly if you just it's if people are using it as a form of journaling, sweet. And
Yeah.
that's what I tell people a lot of times is like, I mean, I tell them AI or not, I'm like, use your voice memos and just talk about because a lot of it is like sometimes you need to, and then listen back to it.
Yeah.
Because an important part of understanding ourselves, as whatever we consider as self, is if we can look at it almost from third person, it allows us to give a little bit of objective. Because a lot of the things that we say to ourselves in our own head sound really good, and then when you listen to them out loud, you're like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
That's silly. Come on, quit beating yourself up over this. This is silly. But we'll make a mountain out of molehill. And I think that's where if they're using like for journaling and stuff, great. But if it starts giving advice back, I mean, what did I see someone put the other day was like, it was like a joke when they put into AI. It was like something like, I've got, this job coming up and I really need to do well. So I think I'm just going to do meth this week because I think meth will really help me to get through the week. And then I'll quit again after. And AI was like, it sounds like you really need meth. So like, let's go ahead and use meth this week. Like,
God.
there was like an Instagram post of like how insane, but it was like one of those things was like, and if you use AI in your business, as I use AI quite a bit, I
Yeah.
really do like it to get to flesh out ideas. It just tells me I'm right all the time. I have to prompt it to be like, tell me I'm an idiot. Like, because I need someone, my friends will do it, but I'm not talking to my friends about this
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, that is the one thing that I did start to notice as I used it more. I was like, "Oh, this is never gonna, like, challenge me unless I prompt it to,
Yes.
and I don't want you to stroke my ego. I want, you know."
Right. I don't want to put some idiocy. I don't want to be another one of these guys out there with confidence saying some bullshit that like is not helpful. Like, so tell me I'm wrong or at least challenge me. Cause there's times I'm pretty argumentative and I've beaten AI. Like I've had it, like there was one time in particular because there's a joke. I don't argue things unless I know I'm really right about something. And so
Okay.
I said something about, hey, like which scene is it in Big Lebowski, where Walter says this, And it said, there's no scene like that. And I'm like, yes, there is. I was like, this line exactly is in there. Da, da, da. And it said, no, there's not. You're thinking of this, that. And I was like, no, I'm not. This is exactly when it happens. I want you to find that. And it was like, oh, yeah, you're right. That is there. And I'm like, I know I'm right because I remember everything. That's not exactly, people think it's a gift. It's a curse. I just remember dumb shit. So I got a brain full of useless crap. And one of the biggest like downloadable sections of my hard drive is the Big Lebowski. So I know that that is correct. And of course, my wife is just like, Jesus, AI doesn't even realize. She's like, I have to live with this every day.
Yeah. Oh my god. So, I'm like, "All right, if I ever go and I need to phone a friend about Big Lebowski, you are going to be it for sure."
Yeah, yeah. I've watched that movie probably 100 times. It was like in college and right after I watched it consistently.
It's a good
I
movie.
think it's one of the greatest films ever made. There's like so many like literary things in there. I mean, one of the amazing things that movie does, which I think actually in coaching, this is actually I'm going to bring the Big Lebowski into coaching here.
Let's do it.
At the very beginning of the very first scene in the Big Lebowski, he's in the grocery store, and one of the lines is that George Bush is talking about the kind of New World Order, and he said this aggression will not stand. Later in the movie, the Big Lebowski is kind of being kind of attacked by these by this overbearing copies. This aggression will not stand, man. And it's like there's little things like that where they'll repeat lines, and people don't even recognize it's happening, but there's little things like that that hammer home a point that
Mm,
you don't even realize is happening. And that's one of the things I think is in coaching again is we want to have some repetition, we want to have some consistency because that helps people feel safe.
yeah.
People find safety and predictability. And if people can understand that where you're going to come from is from a predictable place, you're not going to hit them out of left field, they will feel much safer in their coaching sessions with you. And that's an important kind of thing that I want people to feel is I want people to feel safety in their engagements with me so that they can feel comfortable to share and to be curious and to be vulnerable.
Wow, Jeb, I'm impressed how you brought that full circle from Big Lebowski.
I'm pretty happy with myself about that. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I wonder how he's gonna do this, but I'm impressed. So, all right. So, what are you talked about values a little bit ago? What are some of your values that have been leading you through life?
My number one is probably love of learning.
Mm,
I love learning stuff. Like I'm fascinated and particularly the human experience. I think, growing up I was an actor. I've always been a writer, a songwriter. My songs I write are pretty depressing, usually about death. I've since I was a very young child, I've always explored the idea of death. I think about it constantly. Meditation, not from a like weird standpoint. I actually am very comfortable with the idea, which I think helps me in working with clients. So I think there's a couple things that people are really afraid of, and that is vulnerability, that is death. And it's funny because when I did a values assessment 8 or 9 years ago with my therapist, spirituality was way at the bottom. I would say that's probably up pretty high now. And that's been through my own personal growth. It was something I abandoned for a long time. It was really important for me to almost abandon spirituality in my sobriety. So I had pretty bad alcoholic, used a lot of drugs. When I kind of finally got sober, I became very, very literal, analytical. I did not want to deal with any emotions. And at the time, that was very protective. It was what I needed. We talk about protective parts. I thought that was just who I was. And then through therapy, I came to find that, nope, that was a part that was protecting me. And when I was able to let that slide a little bit, I found myself getting much more into this kind of spiritual space. I was big deadhead when I was in high school, big hippie, and then I abandoned that. And as I abandoned that, I delved into alcohol. I was into psychedelics when I was like 17, 18. In college, I started drinking, coke, all the hard stuff. And I abandoned any sense of spirituality because coming back to that felt very vulnerable. And so that's actually been a big thing for me. Um, and then, yeah, curiosity, which again, I had to hammer home. Like I had to intentionally insert that into my life, but that's become a huge value for me. City, presenting. One of the best compliments I got was a guy who I've known online. I thought we knew each other in person, and we met at Real Coaches for the first time last year. And he's like, "Dude, you're exactly in person the way you are online, exactly how I'd expect." And I was like, "Shit, that's good," because I feel like half the time I'm like, "Oh, am I full of shit on here? Like just talking about the stuff?" He's like, "No." He's like, "You're," and I was like, "All right, good. That's my goal." Like, I'm a big hipster, like I'm like Gen X, punk rock, like there's nothing I hate more than like posers, and I
I
feel
knew you
like
were gonna say
that's
that.
yeah, it's like I feel like that's like now it's become like this thing. It's like cool, like being a sellout is cool. Like I'm like, man, there's nothing worse in my world than being a sellout. Like you'd be like,
Yeah.
people are like, but they're like, hey, that person's making money. They, that person sold a lot of records, therefore they're good. I was like, no, that's actually a sign they're not good because like nothing sells more than just absolute mediocrity. Like that, I don't want to be mediocre. I'd rather be no one know who I am and really be doing the thing and being true to myself. So yeah, so those are things which that those could be looked at as downfalls. I'm sure a lot of people in like fitness business are like, well, if you don't do this, you're never going to make it. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's not important to me. If I can't look myself in the mirror every morning, then I don't give a shit how much I don't, if I have a $10 million house, but I hate who I see in the mirror, that's not worth it. So those are the values I live by, and I think I do a pretty good job. I mean, they slip at times, and I have to keep on track. And I have habits and things in place that help with that. Jiu-Jitsu every morning is a big part of it. Uh, my work is a big part of it. And then like just dumb things like having dinner with my wife, you know, every night is a big part of it.
Hmm.
And texting my friends, making sure that like, hey, I haven't talked to this person in a week. Make sure that you text that person, say, see how they're doing.
Mm, I love that. Yeah, those like the values are so strong, and that's something that I really emphasize people identify because, as you said, if you're not living in alignment with what your true values actually are, you're gonna find yourself in a place that's like, I don't like my life. I maybe don't
Yeah,
like myself, and
yeah.
that sucks.
And you chase things that you think are gonna bring you happiness, and they just actually pull you further away from it.
Yeah, it's like self abandonment.
Yeah.
All right, Jeb, I'm putting you in the hot seat. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions,
All
and
right.
then all right. What are small moments of joy for you?
Mm. I mean, a great meal. I mean, if I go somewhere and just have a great meal, I'm like, whew. Now, granted, I'm also the same guy who eats the same thing every day, and I'll be like, God, it's so good. I love my ground beef and vegetables. But I love good food, and like that's part of why I travel. Of course, I keep going to Amsterdam, which it's not very good food there,
They have
but
frikandels, though.
they have what?
Frikandels.
What's the frikandel?
It's like a meat stick. You can get it from the vending machines at the
Oh yeah, yeah. There's
that was sarcastic also.
okay, yeah. There's some weird stuff here. Like they
Yeah.
like there. I mean, here I'm not there anymore. Um, like they're upset. Like the lines for these like crappy French fry places. Like every
Yeah.
place has good French fries, which is cool, but they're still like like. I'm also not big into like mayonnaise on French fries. Like like French fries are a vehicle for ketchup for me. Like I'm so
Oh,
American. I roll into the restaurant. I'm like, can I get some ketchup? Like I don't give a shit. Like I'm that guy. But no, a great meal, time with friends, a concert. I say small joy, but like I love going to see live music, and like that's always the best. I'd say, yeah, music and food, art.
love it.
Yeah, that's it.
So what's one of the best meals out that you had recently, and then what's like a go-to meal for you at home?
Recently, um, we actually did have a pretty good Italian meal in Amsterdam, which is very strange
Oh,
because the lady we
interesting.
stopped into a bar. My wife we like just got she got a glass of wine and we were talking to the girl there and she's like, oh, my favorite pasta in Amsterdam is right around the corner. We went in and they had room for us and it was actually really good. I had some really good like it was like a gnocchi with like a pork ragu, which was different.
Yeah.
It was really good. That's recent. Our go-to here is our local restaurant, which I have to pitch because they're awesome and I love them. We go to, like once a week. I'm going there on Friday with a friend. It's funny because a friend of mine from high school who I have not seen probably since 1996 lives here, has lived here the whole time I've been here. We haven't met up yet. So we're going to go grab lunch on Friday. So we're going to go to my favorite place near me called Jackrabbit Philly, which is the name of the milkshake place from Pulp Fiction, by the way. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, so the owner there is a dude from upstate New York, um, and he's a Chinese guy. I think he's first generation American, and it's just an amazing chef. He was just on Top Chef, Shui, I think, but his restaurant is amazing, and him and his wife Corey run it, and the bartenders like I'm just friends with everyone there now, and it's just awesome. So that's my favorite place. It's like kind of Chinese American. It's just awesome. this guy just can cook. He also has a place down the street called King Barbecue where it's like a Chinese American barbecue fusion that's just awesome. So Jackrabbit Philly is like our go-to here. That and there's like a place called Heavy's that just does like smash burgers. That's my other thing is I love a good simple smash burger. Like
My God.
can't go
Yeah.
wrong.
All right, I'm putting it on my list next time I'm in Charleston. Um, Speaking of concerts and music, when's the last time you heard a song that like transported you in time? Do you know what I'm saying? Like I was thinking about that.
Last night. I mean,
Oh,
every song transports me in time. Like I like I have a deep connection to
you're like
music. I
every
mean,
single time. I love that.
no, yeah,
You like
consistently. Like yeah, like I like so I'm on a you know I have like a couple of like favorite bands, obviously like favorite live bands to go see. Again, I was Deadhead, so Grateful Dead, always kind of does it for me. But like recently, War on Drugs is one of my favorite bands ever. And so like them live, Queens of the Stone Age, another band I absolutely love seeing live. Recently, I've really gotten into, I would say MJ Lenderman, Waxahachie, Wednesday, who MJ plays guitar for. And so we went out to Shoals Fest, which one of my other favorite artists, Jason Isbell, used to play in Drive By Truckers. So I knew those guys back in the day when I lived in Baltimore, and they were like friends with friends. And so they would always come through and we'd always see them. Now he's been solo. He's one of the great guitar players in the world. Great, probably one of the greatest songwriters of our generation. I would say the best songwriter of our generation. And he had Waxahachie and MJ open up. So we drove all the way to Muscle Shoals, Alabama to go see that. And then they're Waxahachie and went on MJ Lenderman are playing together in Asheville, which is where MJ is from. And it's kind of like down here's it's they were calling it like the new Brooklyn like 15 years ago. And it's got lots of great music. So we're gonna go see them there. Yeah, I just that's what. But every time I listen to any of those, man, it just takes me, to a better place.
I love that. All right. What's one of your biggest pet peeves?
When people talk about mind when they talk about mindset
What
and talk about motivation, and it's wrong. It literally is my big when people say like action must come before motivation, and it's like no, that's wrong, because I mean we can go back to Darwin, who's the first person that started to observe motivation in animals, and he says that every action that an animal takes is based on motivation. We can look at the etymology of the word motivation. It comes from movere, which means to move, to put into action. We can look at acting. In acting, we talk about what is the character's motivation. Why are you reaching for a pencil? Everything you do is predicated by motivation. The only time that motivation is not involved is a motivation, which means you're not even thinking about the thing. So it's not even coming on the radar. It doesn't even matter. So if as a fitness professional, if you say something about motivation, just do me a favor, go to Wikipedia, read self-determination theory, understand the spectrum of motivation from external to internal, and just have a base understanding of it. And then feel free to talk about it, but don't just talk about it in your own definition of terms. Because I think about it. No, it's like you're talking about inspiration, you're talking about external motivation, you're talking about all these things. You're wrong. Sorry, it's not me being a dick, but you're wrong. Read, my friend Joe, he's a cancer researcher. He had a post the other day, and he just like one of the things was like, just read a fucking book. That's
Yeah.
kind of like some my thing is like I'm cool, like talk about things, but just do a little base level research. You don't have to be an expert, just understand the basics. Don't talk about things that you have absolutely no concept of just because you feel. And it's always the guys who are, my facts don't care about your feelings. It's like, dude, your entire life is ruled by feelings. You are the most emotional creature on earth, and you don't recognize it, which makes you more. I have a big problem with people who have zero self awareness, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that is a
Oh
very large percentage
God.
of the population.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's my biggest pet peeve.
I'm with you. That's like nearly honestly. Let me ask you a question about like how do you feel when David Goggins talks?
I mean, I mean, how do I say this without sounding total condescending? I don't get that upset because the guy's a moron. Like he's not super smart, but he's been really good about doing the thing. Just don't talk about where it comes from because he doesn't understand where it comes from. He just does he just did a thing and um it also like just doesn't work. Like he thinks of why it's working and it's not. Like I loved when he was cornering who was it, Tony Ferguson, and it was like, dude, the guy just like in UFC, and it was like the guy just got the brakes beat off him when he tried to like do Goggins method. It's like, yeah, like okay, like you were just living your life injured, but okay, cool. Like tell me how this is the best way to do it. Like again, I don't blame anyone for thinking things like this because it's not their fault. I guess I get more upset that people listen to, again, the internet has been amazing in a lot of ways. It's also really likely that the person talking to you is the dumbest person you've ever met. And we have demonized intellectualism in this country to the point that we're now actually celebrating like idiocy. But it's not the dumb person's fault that they're dumb. Like that's just like there's no moral like thing about being smart. Like there's no morality. It's literally just like you got lucky that you had the ability to think like this. So there's nothing. But as a person who thinks, you should also be like, where am I getting my information from? Not just am I get like, what is the context of where this is coming from?
Mhm.
And if you're okay with it, fine. But like, I see a lot of smart people listen to a lot of really dumb people, and I'm like, dude, like, take a moment and think about where this is coming from. You're
Yeah.
accepting this as fact, and like because it fits your emotional need. It fits the voice. Like again, one of the things I always say when fit pros say like, I don't tell you what you want to hear, I tell you what you need to hear. And it's like, no, no, no. When you tell someone that they suck and it's all their fault, that's exactly what they want to hear. That's exactly what that's the same thing as the voice in their head has been telling them for
Yeah.
25 years. That
Yeah.
is exactly what they want to hear. And so you're not helping. You think
Yeah.
you are. You think you're being tough love. No, 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 you're not. You're continuing the narrative in their head. And that's why people buy from these assholes.
Yeah. Ooh, I like that. We could talk about that for like an hour. Um, what's something that younger you would be one, proud of, two, probably embarrassed by?
Let's see. It would be proud of like I remember sitting in a cafe in London with my wife and being like, I'm not the most successful person in the world. I'm not the richest guy in the world. I don't have the most stuff. But like, and I didn't make it in music or acting, which is a hard pill for me to swallow, which it's a good one because I probably would have been dead. I'm almost sure I would have been dead.
Yeah.
But I was sitting in that cafe in London. I'm like, man, 16-year-old me would be looking at me right now and being like, that's pretty fucking cool. That's pretty fucking cool. Embarrassed by, um, God, there's quite a few probably. Um, I think probably the biggest. I mean, shit. I don't like. Part of me is almost kind of embarrassed that like I own a home because like part of me was like, I'll never buy a house. Like just rent and like stay on. Keep nimble. Like be able to go at any
Yeah.
thing. But maybe also I don't know. Like I do some dorky stuff, but I was always kind of dorky. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know that I would be like super embarrassed.
Yeah.
Maybe in the fact that yeah, I mean I haven't bought Crocs or anything. So like I don't know. Like that would kind of be the one. Maybe embarrassed by the fact that I don't have any hair. Cuz that was like, I used to have long hair and I was cool
Oh.
and yeah, and that's gone. So yeah, that's probably it. Be embarrassed. Like I have to wear glasses now. Like
Ugh. Okay. What's a skill you think everyone would benefit from, but not many people?
self-awareness.
That's a common answer when
Is it?
ask this question. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Emotional regulation, um, but again, like self-awareness is, I say it's a skill. It's not, it's really a practice because
Mm.
it's like we all lack it in some areas and we just have to practice it. Maybe I'll dumb it down and say jujitsu because it's so annoying. That's what would be embarrassing is how much I talk about jujitsu because it's so annoying.
It's
It's
just
like I am like
becoming part of your identity.
dude, it's like I literally on paper hate everything about me. I mean, I have a podcast, I lift weights, I talk about jujitsu all the time. Like I'm just the most annoying white guy in the world on paper, but I hope to try and counter that when I talk to people a little bit. But I do like jujitsu is super like it's like this microcosm of life for me. It's crazy. Like you talk about nervous system stuff. I mean, you literally go from being calm to fight to flight to shut down in like 5 minutes, and you have to try to reverse that and come out of it and you like it's simulated death and like I don't know, it's awesome in so many ways. And it's not about the choking people and the fighting and the like tough guy stuff. It's the opposite of that. It's every morning waking up and going and knowing that I'm waking up to go get the living shit kicked out of me by a 22-year-old a kid, or like there's a 12-year-old that I train at where I coach jiu-jitsu at an MMA school, and he hasn't hit puberty yet really, and like I keep telling everyone, I'm like, you guys beat him up now because this kid is going to absolutely murder all of us in like 2 years. Like, you are in trouble, you don't even realize it, you are in big trouble. His
Yeah.
dad was an MMA champion in South Africa and is a big dude. Like, this kid is just, and like I'm like terrified that I'm going to be, a 49 or 50-year-old man just getting murdered by a 14-year-old, but it's going to happen real
It's
soon.
gonna
It's
happen.
going to
Yeah.
happen. Yeah, it's terrifying.
Jiu-jitsu is like it almost sounds like how people used to talk about CrossFit.
Oh, almost worse though, because um it's like taking the worst people of CrossFit, the most people that talk about the most, and just that core group, and then having them do something. Like, it's not even like there's no casuals in jujitsu. Like in CrossFit, be like, oh, I like CrossFit.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it's the most annoying people. Like, and I'm one of them, and it's fine. Like, I'm
But
totally okay with it. Like,
yeah, I will say because there's a lot of people who I like really trust and like, and I'm like, okay, you guys are talking like you freaking love this. This is passion. And I'm like, maybe I will go try it, you know?
I mean, I think for women, it's really valuable. You have to
Yeah.
find a place where there's women's classes though, because
Yeah.
like there's just like you want to be comfortable and feel safe, and like a lot of dudes, like, because there's definitely dudes in there, and like you have to have the people that are good to like beat up the guys who think they're tough, because they will like just try to like they like beat up on, and you're like, dude, like this like this woman like just started this week, like don't use this as the place to show what you're doing or you're tough, like stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just like having that confidence and just like knowing that like you could like, now does it mean like you'll be able to walk around and like just beat people? No, like I can't like I mean, I'm a pretty big dude. I can't walk around just to beat people up. But I know that in a bad situation and someone who's untrained, like, I'm gonna be I'm pretty safe. I'm pretty safe. And as a woman, like knowing that you could like incapacitate a grown man pretty easily with a very rudimentary amount of skill in jujitsu, it's kind of a nice feeling, I think. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not a woman, I don't know, but like, I mean, I've trained with some pretty badass women that like will fuck you up. And like it's like you're like that's cool. I mean, like small, like 120-pound chick that will just beat the shit out of you.
I like it. Honestly, like, this is something that I am, like, slightly embarrassed to admit, but it's fine because whatever. Knowing, like, from strength training, like, knowing how strong I am and, like,
Oh
talking to
yeah.
guys, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, well, blah, blah, blah." Like, someone said to me, I went to my 20-year high school reunion, and he's like, "Oh, how much do you squat?" And I was like, "Oh, well, like, this is the max squat I've ever done." He's like, "Oh, that's pretty good for a girl." I was like, "Well, how much do you squat?" And he was like, "Oh, well." I was like, "Yeah, motherfucker." Like,
When I had my
like
private
that.
studio, like I would have group classes, and then my wife would come in and working with the group classes, and I'd be like, all right, hey, just like let's keep deadlifts like low because there's new guys, and like just like don't embarrass them because like they won't come back.
Yeah.
Like, that's, I had to tell her to like to tone it down because like dudes would get so pissed and they would hurt themselves trying to match her. And she's strong. She's not like a power lifter or anything. She was just like, you know, she did CrossFit and she was at like a pretty strong base level of strength. But with trap bar deadlifts, she would just destroy any dude that would come in, and I'd be like, just don't do it. Because dudes are the worst. They're just gonna try and show off and just do the most. Like, that's, I like training women because they tend to undersell themselves and
Yeah.
sometimes be like, oh no, you need to do more. But they do it right.
Mhm.
Guys will do it wrong to prove a point. And it's like, dude, stop. Nobody
Yeah, that
cares.
does seem to generally be the trend.
And like the best thing is when I was doing strongman, I'd be like, like I could tell someone I was deadlifting 600 pounds and they'd be like, is that good?
Right?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I mean, I weighed like
Pretty
180
good.
pounds at the time. It was pretty, it was, you know, back then that was a pretty high, deadlift. Nowadays it's like, that's what 15-year-olds are doing or whatever. I
Oh
don't even
god,
know.
I know, I'm
They're
like,
so
"Oh, these
strong.
14 and 15-year-olds are like, man, they're crushing
And
it."
yeah, strong man. It's like, I mean, just seeing the like, I was national level competitor deadlifting like 600, and I think now dudes in the 175 pound weight class are pulling like 700 plus 750, something like that. I mean, it's insanity.
Yeah.
Insanity.
Alright, Jeb, last question.
All right,
What does doing cool shit mean to you?
just living authentically. I mean, For me, cool shit is like playing music, going to concerts, eating good food. Like jujitsu, exercise, whatever. I don't care what you do. Like do something. Like again, it's as cheesy as it sounds. Like aligning the cognitive, the physical, and the spiritual self. Like get that stuff together, and that's cool. Like cool can be like to me, you can be cool at doing what is that work not Warhammer or whatever that
Oh yeah.
my friends that paint the it's cool. Like it's dorky as hell, but it's cool because they're into it. Like
Yeah.
to me it's as cool as a jiu-jitsu tournament or as cooking a great meal. I don't do something with passion. Anything you've
Yeah.
done with passion is cool to me.
Yeah. I love that answer. My brother-in-law does that, and I always will make fun of him, but I'm like, "You know what? You love it, and that's cool."
Make fun of him, but then you watch an interview with Henry Cavill, who is the coolest motherfucker on earth, and that dude does it. Like he's cool. And
Yeah.
I think like Tom Hardy, I think I know he does jujitsu, and Tom Hardy is the coolest person alive. Like he is the coolest, and I'm pretty
I
sure he's into some nerdy shit too.
oh, for sure, and Henry Cavill is my hall pass, so I
Yeah, dude. I mean, like,
you're like you too.
well, Andrew Coates got me into watching that show he was on that was based on the video game.
Witcher?
Yeah, and I loved it. And then when he was off it, I was like, I'm not watching it anymore. Man.
Well, no.
Yeah, like that. He was so jacked and like he was like super jacked and also like really good actor and cool as shit. Like, and I mean, really good looking too. That doesn't hurt, but you know.
I know. Yeah, that's why he's my hall pass. All right, plug yourself. This is where you get to, like, tell people what you're up to, how to find you, what you wanna talk about.
You can find me on Instagram at Jeb Stuart Johnston. My website is foodonthemind.com. For coaches, I'm going to be launching the next cohort of my mentorship in January. So if you want to, you can go on to my Instagram and you can download my coaches mini course, or you can just text me or message me and I'll send that over to you. That'll put you into the little coaches thing, and I'll be sending out a lot of emails in the next month over and getting in that. I really do think the coaching mentorship that I run is very different. And I think it's beneficial for coaches in a lot of ways because it is not just a course. We have weekly group calls where it's not just me talking. We are actually doing active role playing. And we also have one-to-one calls where I work with you directly on helping your clients. It's a very different animal than really anything else that's out there, I think. And also in accordance with anything else that's out there, it's much more affordable as well. So if you want to really change the way you coach and take all the things that intuitively work, but just don't know how to kind of put it into a way that you can apply to clients, I think it's a really valuable thing. And I wouldn't promote it if I didn't believe in it wholeheartedly, because even if it's my thing, I will not tell anyone to do something that I wouldn't do myself. So that's my pitch.
I love it. Yeah, and you have, like, a newsletter, like, daily email that you do
Yeah,
all
I have a daily email that goes out. Like I try to shoot 4 or 5 emails a week. It's more just kind of like short, generally inspirational pieces. They were a little longer this week because I was in Amsterdam and I had more to talk about. But generally, it's just about little simple things you can read each morning to get your day started. I also do have a podcast called Awaken Genius. It's Food on the Mind, Awaken Genius. That's kind of weaves in philosophy, psychology, spirituality into the health and wellness world. And I kind of delve into some pretty deep concepts there.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, your daily, like, little tidbits, they're so short, but they're really
Quick.
thought-provoking, and I love them.
Yeah,
So,
it's meant to be something that can be easy. You can read in the morning and not take up too much time and just go on with your day.
yeah, I love it. Well, I will put all of that information in the show notes
Thank you.
so you can just easily click. We love to make things as simple as
That's
possible.
right. Make the hard thing easy.
Yep. All right, Jed, thanks for coming on. This is a great convo,
Thank you
and
so much.
we'll talk soon.